All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMAC coming to you on a Sunday, wild card Sunday. We get Sunday Night Football, a couple more left, including the Super Bowl, which is likely to be a fun one. The one thing I do want to shout out the NFL. We've had good games. All these games have been pretty good today, Greg. I went to bed before the comeback was complete for the Chicago game. So, I missed that one, but I see we have another close one today. We had a close one this morning. The Rams just barely survived. Oh, I see the 49ers took the lead. So, it's going to be a good one. We've got some decision points tonight, and then, of course, we have tomorrow's game as well. So for those of you playing the 6-game slate, curious to see if anybody has any PMR left for that game aside from the defenses. But how did your day go thus far?
So far it's been
too early to tell.
A little bit. Although the thing that saved me was I had some unders in the Jaguars Bills game, which one of the ones that was key for me was under 275 passing yards for Josh Allen, who finished like right at 273. So him getting the tush push that went all the way down to the 1 yard line, and him not getting stopped at like the 3 where they've thrown for something, that was helpful. Overtime in that game would have been disastrous for a lot of my bets. But overall, it's been going pretty solid so far. And now we've got the night game here as well. I do see, not that I can't watch the game from where I'm at right now, just the play-by-play, but it looks like Barkley might have just gotten hurt.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll see. I have a lot of Patriots on my 10 best ball teams in the DK $20 versions. I think 4 of them are in the milli, and then I hit the rest of them into some other sized contests. I may not get any through. I'm not in first in any of them. That feels a little bad. I didn't want to look too much yesterday because there were only 2 games.
Yeah.
But as we head towards tonight, and I know I don't have much Pittsburgh or Houston, so it's all coming down to tonight. I may not get any through those 6-man pods. That will be very, very sad.
So it's unfortunate when this happened, but Puka Nacua was the first pick in pretty much every single one of those drafts. And it seems like in order to pass through, like you kind of needed the first overall pick and needed to get to get a Puka Nacua, which is pretty annoying that much of it could come down to just where you drafted. But so far, he has so many more fantasy points than everybody else. So looks like you needed the first overall pick and you needed to draft Puka Nacua. And those are the teams that got through. The ones that didn't have the first pick don't get through.
Yeah, well, we'll find out here. So we got some injury news here for tonight. That's interesting, and I'm curious. Omar Eon, I got to spell his name correctly because I'm going to go look at his odds for his rushing yards. I know it was 43.5 earlier today. Looks like he's still at 42.5, but as Eric Lindquist pointed out on Tails, he was able to advise people to grab Kamani Vidal at a lower range, and he's popped up. I think he got a 23.5 or 24.5 rushing yards, and that's now, depending on the book, between 32.5 and 34.5 as the pick'em sites as well. So since we're collecting people, and we'll take just a minute here, so we don't have to repeat too much. I did play a mix of Hampton and Vidal for my full 3-game slate today. Would you bail out on Hampton? Like just global swap bail out on him? Would you keep some? What would your strategy be? And I didn't know if you played any of the 3-game slate.
So my strategy would have been to not play him to begin with. At this point,
I'm at 12%. So it was more, I'm going to put some in and see what happens kind of a play.
So in general, in terms of mistakes, I'm realizing this as well as nobody's watching us, that going up against the going up against the fourth quarter of the 49ers Eagles game, maybe it's so hard to know how long these games are going to run and whatnot. And we're so used to doing these shows for Sunday night, but in hindsight, maybe we shouldn't have even scheduled the show because we're doing it for nobody. But with that said, EMAC, as far as your question about Amari and Hampton, I guess I don't think he has the highest upside. It kind of depends where some of those lineups sit, but like if you're trying to play catch up, I'd say like Henderson would be somebody who I'd be more apt to want to play.
Yeah, I was thinking I would just isolate my Hampton lineups and then just let the late swap take care of the rest of it. Although, even though there's only 2 games, it shouldn't really mess up stacks or anything like that at this point. So we'll see what happens there. William Westry says, "Oh, we are still here." Not Nated said there are 121 of us. Nobody. So I think we're almost close. We're almost up to 150, I think. So this will be a fun one. Hit that like button. That will get you tonight and tonight only an extra 10% implied expected ROI on anything you do for this game. Now, you'll still have to realize it, but your implied expected ROI is going to be higher if you hit that like button.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to the diehards who are out here hanging with us on the Sunday night. But yeah, it'll any questions you guys have, we could definitely answer them as we go here, no matter what those are. If you guys are in the Stokastic Discord and have additional questions for us, we'll be on the lookout for those as well.
All right, so we can kind of start meandering through, and then if we get questions, we can talk through them. Anybody, this is a more intimate show than what we have seen in recent times, but we know next going forward they'll have things spread out a little bit more because there won't be any more 3-game slates here. But let me open up my notes here for the Sunday night football. So quick overview for the Chargers. Well, actually, a trivia question for you. I wanted to ask you this: which of the quarterbacks tonight earned Pro Bowl accolades?
Oh boy, do I give so little shit about the Pro Bowl for this year or previous years? I don't even know if they've named the Pro Bowl
for this year. Yes, for this year they have named this year. Yesterday they actually named the All Pros.
Okay, well, I can't imagine Drake May wasn't a Pro Bowler, but you're about to probably tell me he didn't make the Pro Bowl.
He did for the second consecutive season because he made it as an alternate last year for injury replacements. Okay. But guess what? Justin Herbert also made the Pro Bowl. That was sort of a surprise.
You threw me a trick question. You said which one of these quarterbacks. So
Well, the answer's both. I didn't say you couldn't say it.
All right. Well, all right.
A,
so they both
Herbert, made it. B, May, C, both, D, none of the above.
Yeah, and I mean, technically it's nobody because they don't even play the Pro Bowl anymore. They do like a flag football game that guys don't show up to. Yes. Isn't that what they do now?
Yeah, which is why an injury replacement last year was ridiculous. It's ridiculous at that point. Anyway, the part I found amusing was for as much consternation as we have for what Justin Herbert has done this year, he did make the Pro Bowl. So that I found was a little bit interesting. So he has struggled somewhat since fracturing, which required surgery, his offhand. That was in week, I can't remember when it was, but it was like week 11 or 12. Since then, he has, it was right after their bye. So I think that would have been week 13 is when it happened. So he had surgery and then played the next week. He says this is the best it has felt since he fractured it in week 13. Since then, he has not had more than 236 passing yards, save for a 300-yard performance against the Dallas defense, who is the gift that keeps on giving to everybody here. But what I wanted to note, in his last 4 games, he has 37, 42, 0, and 66 rushing yards. So behind that offensive line, and this is the kitchen sink game, right? Loser goes home. So the running aspect for him, I think, is pretty solid here. We've learned that Hampton is not going to be at full strength. He tweaked the ankle that he fractured in week 5. He tweaked that towards the end of week 17's game. No biggie. Everybody sat for the most part, or all key players sat for the Chargers in week 18. He didn't practice until he got a limited session in on Friday. So I'm kind of nervous about him. I think I'm going to bail on playing him today. I'm okay with that. I don't know that I want to go for all in on Kamani Vidal, but I like the passing game even more, despite being behind that rickety offensive line. So that's sort of my assessment here. Macro level, we can get into into the micro level of which players we like. But that's kind of my take on the Chargers, and I think the Patriots will cover tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've seen all these games have been so close coming down to the wire. All of these playoff games have been, wild so far. We had Rams Panthers. That was the one that most of us didn't think was going to be close. 10.5 point spread. And the Rams end up, winning with a last-minute Matt Stafford drive. You had the crazy Packers-Bears game last night. Then you had more of the same from Bills-Jaguars. Now you've got this 49ers-Eagles game that's also coming down to the wire. 5 minutes left in 19-17. So I'm going to take the Chargers with the points just because I presume all these games end up being close.
Yeah, I should add, I don't think it's by more than a touchdown tonight. Right. So backdoor cover is in play, but it's been a really good set of playoffs games here. So that has been very, very interesting. I'm going to drop the link here in chat, guys. We are over there on Tails, but I have broken down the game like I usually do with a full player pool ranking. I've given you overviews for why is this not copying? Copy link address, now paste. There we go. I've done I've written it in modular form. So if you click on the link I just dropped into chat, that'll bring up your summary tab. We got both teams overviews. We got the top 10. We got the secondary plays, the lottery picks. Also threw in how to use OddsShopper there, just showing that there was one decent bet for the over 43 on Omari and Hampton. And then there was a sea of terrible bets. Despite him having rushing lines at that point between 40.5 and 46.5 on the overs, that some were minus 150, some were minus 105. It was just crazy there, but that's a good way to see how OddsShopper does work there. So that is Tails over there. So let's kind of walk through here. What appeals to you for the Chargers?
Yeah, so it kind of has to be the passing game, right? Because I totally agree with what you just said. Seems like Hampton isn't going to be healthy, but I don't think all of a sudden that means that like Vidal plays a massive workload or anything like that. So from the Chargers side, we kind of have to look more towards the passing game. And if you look at what we're getting out of the Sims, you'll see that we've got, a little bit of Hampton showing up, a little bit of Vidal, but neither one of them being real priorities. Instead, 56% of Justin Herbert in the flex. We got 28% of Keenan Allen, so we're a little bit overweight to the field to him. What do we got in the captain spot? Herbert and May primarily showing up. It's actually kind of funny. You look through our Chargers exposure, and on the whole, it's not really that plentiful. We're seeing way more. Almost all of our most rostered players are coming from the Patriots. Now I'm kind of curious to look at our top lineups, which... All right, so there's one Chargers 4, but for the most part, it is leaning a little bit more towards the Patriots. But yeah, kind of our overall exposure showing, look, 4 of our 5 most rostered players coming from the Patriots side of the game. If you go ahead and you look at our captain exposure, 5 of our top 6 are coming from the Patriots side. It's kind of only Justin Herbert that we're getting a significant amount of exposure to from the Chargers.
Yeah. You know what's funny? It appears that I have 1 out of my 50 lineups ended up with Hampton. It also has Vidal in it. So my swap is not really going to go well. It's only money. It's only money. Maybe that's the combination you needed in this one here. When you look at the pass catching game here, so New England actually has adequate downfield coverage and edge coverage. So that makes things a little bit tougher for Quentin Johnston. Not impossible by any stretch, but he has the tougher matchup of the wide receivers here. He scored 8 touchdowns for the second consecutive season, had just over 700 yards, very similar to what he did last year. The impact of having Keenan Allen here on the team, took a little away from him and the trajectory he was looking at earlier. It takes away from Ladd McConkey, but what we have seen is Keenan Allen mostly plays on passing downs or passing situations. He gets in now for about half of the snaps. Now the Chargers don't do a ton of 2 tight end sets. They do, I think it's like 20 or 25%. But what they do is Trey Harris their rookie wide receiver, he is a decent run blocker, especially downfield. So he has been getting on the field for about half the snaps. He's not getting the looks or the love, but he's at least getting on the field, which is half the struggle when we're playing Showdown DFS. And then Ladd McConkey, I wrote in the article, he last year wasn't a fluke, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was good in college. He's had a couple moments this year. This it's been a rough season, especially when I'm forgetting of the name of their tackle that went down in week 5. But since he went down, just that time to throw, the clean pocket, all the metrics are horrible for Herbert there. So that it's really impacted everybody. But adding Keenan Allen, he's your short route guy. And then the ascension of rookie Oronde Gadsden II at tight end, they're fighting for the short yardage stuff. Allen and McConkey are sort of displacing each other in the coveted slot role, although McConkey can do any of the routes. But I don't have a great feeling on all of this. I think it's Keenan Allen number 1 for me. Mm-hmm. I think it's Gadsden too. Now that's everybody's favorite salary savers, right? That salary on DK plays a great deal in that, and they're going to be the short yardage guys that's closest to Herbert. And I think that the Pats have a decent enough pass rush. They don't get a ton of sacks, but they have an adequate pressure rate. So I like those guys because they're closer, and it's just that little extra money for Ladd makes it a little trickier to get to him. But and they're all bunched, right? These are a hair below each other. So I'm not skipping any of the 4 of them. But that would be my overall preferred ranking as I was hand building some lineups here. What is your assessment there for the rest of the Chargers?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because throughout the season, the ball's been so spread out that on a week-to-week basis, it's always been hard to know who is the guy that you want to be playing out of the pass catchers for the Chargers. So I think we have to lean in a little bit to what are the salaries of the guys and what is the ownership. And we've got coming out of the Sims, Keenan Allen showing up the most. Now, with that said, there's not a single pass catcher in more than 30% of lineups from the Chargers. But you got Keenan Allen, a modest $5,200 price tag. So I'm going to lean towards him as being the cheapest of the core wide receivers. And then you've also got Ladd McConkey at $7,600, who I perceive as being the best. So I'm going to lean towards McConkey on the high end, Keenan Allen on the low end. You do have Oronde Gadsden as a tight end option at $4,400. So while that is a little bit cheaper than Keenan Allen, I'm thinking more about the wide receivers here. And Gadsden also has had a little bit of a fall off after having a really strong, not necessarily start to the season, but like, what was it? Like the 4th through 5th game or something like that? Or 4th.
His breakout section, not a flash in the pan, but he was a supernova for a minute. And now he's just kind of, hey, that's not bad for a rookie. Not, oh, dear God, this is, Kellen Winslow all over.
Yeah, the last handful of games, 2 catches for 23 yards, 6 for 32, 1 for 7, 5 for 61. So that was a solid game. 4 for 7, 2 for 27. It just hasn't been the same production we saw from him earlier in the year. Part of it is because the Chargers' offensive line has been banged up. Part of it, too, is there's just so many weapons that the ball gets spread out a lot. But I think in a game like this, Keenan Allen as a veteran presence, I think Justin Herbert will probably lean on him a little bit more like we saw earlier in the year. And then Ladd McConkey is a standout just because I do view him as the most talented of all these pass catchers at this point in their careers.
All right. Interestingly enough, Greg, my late swap took out Vidal. It knocked me from 16% Vidal to 2%, and it tried to push me towards Henderson. So, all right.
Okay.
We let it ride.
Let it rip.
All right. Let me download that and upload it, and hopefully it works out for me because, been a bit of a rough one here today. We've got the running back game. So I think despite it being John Harbaugh, pardon me, Jim. No, I'm blanking. Yeah, Jim Harbaugh. Sorry, the angry brother, the really angry brother, the stalker on the side, the stomper on the sidelines.
Are they not both angry? I view them both as being pretty angry.
Well, John is at least a skosh more polished, and he dresses a little better. He doesn't wear those goddamn Target khakis that his brother wore all the time and just turned me completely off the 49ers. Used to be my childhood favorite team until, of course, they got in the same division as the Seahawks. But I'm not really excited about either one of them. But the proclivity for running here, I don't know that they're going to be able to do as much today. They'll try probably for the first 3 drives to get something set up. But if the Patriots are able to score, I think they're going to have to abandon the run just because of that offensive line. Vidal is, well, remember, he was the 4th-string running back to start the season here and ended up getting pressed into duty. He was on the practice squad. He wasn't even on the active 53-man roster. He was on the practice squad until the injuries. They're both kind of 2-down backs, and neither one presents a ton in the passing game. And sadly, with no more Austin Eckler, Herbert doesn't tend to pass or target the running backs very much. So I think they're going to have to abandon the run. That is just my guess, unless you'd like to think they're not going to be stupid and go down swinging, right? They've seen enough from Herbert in the passing game and all that they should be embracing that, don't you think, tonight?
Yeah, I would think so.
I mean,
it's always hard
Pro
to know because when same thing when like I will more so for like UFC, but there will be a thing where it's like, I think this team should do this or this fighter should do this, and then the game will play out. You never know what coaches are going to ultimately do. And it doesn't even mean that I'm saying we know better than them. It's just really hard sometimes to know exactly what it is that teams are going to do. The UFC thing's a little bit different because you just have goofball fighters who just do dumbass things from time to time. But yeah, it is hard to sometimes know what a game plan is going to be because we can't always get in the minds of the coaches.
Yeah, a better way of saying it is that's how I'm approaching it with my builds. It's less on the rushing, especially because DraftKings I'm only playing on DraftKings tonight because last time we did the show and I was on both sides, it didn't work out. Well, I won, but it made for a bad show with you at the end there. So I'm down to just one side right now. But that's sort of the stand I'm taking here. But as you said, you're looking at a lot of 4-2s Patriots. And you're like, what do I do to get a 3-3? And that's going to be the mystery I look to unravel here as we continue on. Hitting on defense, kickers. Let me see. Dicker. So Dicker, the kicker, got his first Pro Bowl nomination this year. Did you know he is the all-time leader with a 93.5% success rate in NFL history? He leads the NFL history, not for the season, but for career.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. So I love Pro Football Reference because it shows the little and Basketball Reference, Baseball Reference, right? Because it shows the little gold number if they're leading for career. So it's fun to look at that. But he is the career leader. Over the last 3 years, so counting this year and the 2 preceding years, he is 21 of 25 from 50 plus. That's an 84% conversion rate. That's about league average for overall field goals, and he's able to do that from 50 plus. It's going to be cold, light wind, temperature feels like I think is in the 20 low to mid 20s. But it's going to be right around freezing. So as long as there's not a little breeze, it'll be around freezing. So again, kicking rocks like we talked about yesterday. But I'm okay with Dicker. And then on the defensive side here, if we consider the Los Angeles defense, they've actually been pretty good. Little fugazi because they got to play, Kansas City and Oakland. There I did Oakland. I didn't say San Diego. I said Oakland.
Somebody left me a super chat this morning to build a lineup with them, and they said the San Diego defense, and I immediately made me think of you.
Yeah, I heard you mention it. Yeah, that warms my heart. So like I said, the over/under on me calling them the San Diego Chargers 1.5, 1.5. Nope, I brought in a secret team. But you've got Drake May does a very good job of limiting interceptions. He will take sacks, but it's more of a strategic ability, and it's because their offensive line has not been that great. So a lot of it, he's running around. So while he does have an above average sack rate, it's more of a function. you could probably knock 30% off it if he had even an average offensive line. So we'll have to see what happens here with the Chargers. But they're okay. They're in the mix here on that. But that's, all my thoughts for Los Angeles.
Look at Nightbot saying EMAC. I didn't realize that I guess I should have realized if paid attention more, but there is the EMAC 2028 Nightbot command in there.
Indeed. Thank you. And Ghostface Kicker, I see you. Chris Longo, the usuals are in here. Hey, somebody did win, by the way, yesterday, for those of you that were watching the NBA, that somebody did win that FanDuel contest. So I'm going to get them a choice. Their nice. 1 month of NFL or NBA Sims. I had to goose the prize. And it turns out the guy who won it, he messaged me and I looked at our message history. He won a Fred Van Elite contest about 4 years ago. So,
repeat
keeping
customer.
it in the family.
That was unfortunate. I don't know if you saw, but the Rockets say that Fred VanVleet might be able to return this season now.
If they do, we'll talk promos, but we're gonna do something to honor that. All right, Drake May, we've hit on him, 4 ways to Sunday here in a tangential. In secondary fashion, so I'm losing track of my words here. But let's talk running backs, because you've got the split backfield. So Travion Henderson, came out very highly touted, first-round draft pick coming out of Ohio, was really good at pass protection in college, not so much in the pros. That's been a weakness. We have seen him more or less take a backseat to Ramondre Stevenson, and then Stevenson got hurt, and Henderson became just this incredibly efficient guy, breaking long runs, scoring touchdowns, doing all that. Now Stevenson is back, so they're kind of in a little bit of a shared backfield. But if we look at let me get to my stat page here. If we look at them over the last 3 games, Stevenson has 23 carries, so only 23 carries, 229 yards, and 4 rushing touchdowns. Holy cow, that is amazing. And he has 10 targets. He's caught 9 of them for 104 and another touchdown. So he has 5 touchdowns in the last 3 games. For the rookie, we're going to go back 4 games here because I wanted for him to get to include his game against Buffalo. Now he had a bad Week 16 game where he had, I don't know, like 5 carries for 3 yards against Baltimore. But if we look at his last 4 games combined, 55 carries, 286 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns as well, but only 3 targets. So it appears that Stevenson is kind of the between the tackles, and it's an odd combination, and the pass catching back, because he is decent at pass protection, and it's Travion who is the more open field runner, with the exception of the sun running that Stevenson has done here, because he has done some amazing stuff on limited touches. I'm comfortable playing both of them in the same lineup. I would like to be over the field on each of them, but I kind of like the running game here for the Patriots. Cold weather, crazy offensive line, but I think they get to play with the lead tonight. And I think that behooves the running game. What is your analysis on this? And we are 15 minutes away from kickoff for everybody, because it's an 8 o'clock lock time tonight.
Yeah. So if somebody could explain what happened in the chat to me, I'm very confused why the Eagles apparently burned a timeout right before their 4th down play when the clock was already stopped, and then they just weren't able.
Jawan Jennings has as many touchdown passes as Jalen Hurts today.
Yeah. So anyway, 49ers ended up winning the game. All that aside, it is between Stevenson and Henderson, it's always tough to know who's going to be the guy, because overall for the year, Henderson was quite a bit better. Stevenson's coming off a monster, massive game, though. And when I look at Stevenson at 8K, Henderson at 9K, we do have him projected for comparable ownership. My intuition, though, EMAC, is that because Stevenson had such a big game last week, I think this is going to apply to the Classic contest as well to the Showdown. I think he's going to be higher owned than what he's projected as. Now we have them projected for the same ownership. I think Stevenson's going to be a little more popular because he had the biggest game lately. So with that said, I prefer to go to Henderson because in a scenario where it's kind of uncertain who's going to get more touches, Henderson is the higher upside running back last week notwithstanding. And then in addition to it as well, I think he's going to be the lower owned. So that's how I'm going to differentiate because the snaps are typically uneven between the two. The touches uneven and not in a predictable way either. As good as Stevenson was last week, they usually run the hot hand. Henderson still played more and had more touches. So I'm gonna lean towards Henderson.
Okay. Again, splitting hairs on this one, and that's where I'm doing. I'll play both of them kind of thing. But I like your call out where I'm making the stand of Chargers needing to pass. I'm leaning towards the more of the running game here for the Patriots. I do like in the Patriots passing game Stephon Diggs. Interestingly enough, he is playing just over half the snaps, but he has dominated the team in targets overall. So makes sense. They were, he was hurt to start the year, coming off a knee issue, and they essentially kind of took it easy on him as he was getting up to speed and all of that. But he still, throughout the entire year, I think only twice played more than 60% of the snaps. So what we want to understand is he's probably only going to be on the field for around that, maybe a tick more because it is the playoffs. But the team has, they have designs on a long Super Bowl run. They're looking for a deep playoff run, hoping to recapture some of their Super Bowl magic from a few years ago. So I think we'll get plenty of targets there for Diggs. He was my number 2 guy in my rankings in the article today.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? I had him above everybody but me.
Yeah, so a couple of things there. First of all, no Matt Collins for the Patriots. It's still not exactly clear how he got hurt because when the Patriots won the game a couple of weeks ago, Drake May slid for a first down to clinch the game. He's jumping up and down, celebrating with them. Everything seems well and good. The next day, he finally gets put on the injured reserve, and that he is out until at least the AFC Championship game. So why that is notable is if you look at the snaps overall for the season for the Patriots, it actually hasn't typically been Stephon Diggs playing the most of all of these guys. If you go back to previously when Matt Collins was last available and healthy, we would typically see him playing 70 to 80% of snaps. Butte would play 70 to 80% of snaps. And then we would normally be getting only around 50% of snaps for Stephon Diggs. So now I'm kind of assuming that we're going to have to see a little bit of a bigger role for Diggs in the playoffs. And that's not to say that he isn't already the best wide receiver on the Patriots. He is. They're just kind of cautious with his workload. And I don't think they have that kind of possibility now with Matt Collins out of the picture in really high leverage playoff games. So Stephon Diggs, who shows up right now in about 30% of lineups, actually exactly 30% of lineups, the most of any of the pass catchers in this game. I do think that he is the best overall pass catcher on either side of the game to be rostering tonight.
Yep. How much above the field are you looking to get?
In the Sims, he's showing up like right around even with the field, but I'd prefer to be a little bit higher than what we have him, maybe close to like 40-ish% of Diggs in the flex. Where we are coming in a little bit overweight to him in the Sims without making any adjustments is the captain spot. And outside of the quarterbacks, both these quarterbacks are able to run, Drake May and Justin Herbert. So of the non-quarterbacks, Stephon Diggs is my favorite multiplier option, whether it be the MVP on FanDuel or on DraftKings, the captain.
All right, that makes sense. I'm getting my upload file ready here. I'm looking forward to having some fun on this one, Greg. Oh, first touchdown. Do you have a lean on who gets the first touchdown tonight?
Oh, I have no clue, Emac.
Because that's like a Lofty. Well, I don't think he had first touchdown for Goddard, but he was big on the touchdown one today. So he and Ben had that up on Tails, and they talked about it on the show earlier. So I was just curious, since you are putting out all sorts of free content on Tails for everybody with your bets, I didn't know if that was one you had given thought to.
Yeah, I don't think so. Honestly, in my life, I don't think I've ever bet a first touchdown, at least not one that I could recall. But if I have to pick somebody, I'll go with Hunter Henry. If I have to pick one.
In the Remember Me spot. There we go. I see what you did there. You could have just said revenge. I mean, you could have just said revenge. It's okay.
I will go Hunter Henry, who let me see something here really quick. When he did. Hunter Henry, formerly of the San Diego Chargers, EMAC.
Formerly, he was there. He was all the way back in San Diego. He played there for 5 years before he got to New England. I believe his last year there was the first year of Herbert. They may have overlapped for 2 years. I don't remember for sure.
That was what I was most curious about was, did Hunter Henry ever play in San Diego? And it was his rookie season was when they were So we could tie it all together with things for all of us here. By the way, they overlapped for 1 season. You're correct on that.
Okay. I writing up all these games, and by the way, I just dropped that link on Tails to where you can get the breakdown here. Yeah, I know there's only 8 minutes left, but you'll get the breakdown for Monday Night Football as well, and then Saturday night and Sunday Night Football again next week. And of course, the Super Bowl, the divisional round, all of that. I'll probably write up the 2-game slate for the divisional championships. But we got you guys covered over there on Tails. That is where we have maneuvered a lot of our DFS content. Josh Engelman. Josh is putting up DFS thoughts. Eric Lindquist is chiming in with DFS thoughts now and then. There's tons of free content. There's premium content as well. But you'll get all my content and all Greg's content free over there. And I even sprinkle in a bet here or there, just to show you how OddsShopper works. So there we go. 8 minutes to go. Time to kick off my lineup or my contest generator. I've got my upload lineup or my upload file ready, but there's still some team free money entries. $1 in the DK streets. Username EMAC. Head to heads. I got 7 left. I don't see Sotex in here, but grab those guys. Grab those. I'm giving back to the community 80 cents at a time. It's a good deal. It's a good deal. Kickers. Andy Borregales or Andres Borregales. He has been solid for a rookie. Nothing super special. He has made all 4 of his kicks from beyond 50 yards, more or less average at everything else, but not. I'm blank. I think he was either in Arkansas or Arizona. I can't remember which, but not a lot of cold weather experience. Not that Dicker does either, but just putting that out there for now. Oh, there you go. I did see that super chat. Lineup with Drake May as captain. Yes, everybody's consensus ranking is going to have Drake May at captain. A lot of people will then go to Diggs. By default on DK, you're getting some Gadsden in there and potentially Keenan Allen. So if those names I've mentioned are in your lineup, you're going to be looking at dupes. Unless you get a little bit different. But yes, starting with Drake May as captain, I think is a savvy strategy. He should be on around 80% of all lineups here for DraftKings in either the captain or the utility. And then on FanDuel, I think he was coming in at like 58, 59% on the MVP and the utility. It's a little bit different over there.
Yeah, so if you look at the ownership in the captain/MVP spot that we have, it's almost all geared towards May and Herbert. They're definitely very, very good options. They're my 2 favorite ones overall in the game. If I have to roster one of them, I'm going to lean more towards the May side, just healthier offensive line that he's playing with, and also an easier matchup going up against the Chargers defense as opposed to Herbert playing against the Patriots defense. So both the kickers do look pretty good. Both the quarterbacks look pretty good for the multiplier. And then I mentioned before, if I'm going to go with a non-quarterback, I lean towards Diggs. And then if you want to go pretty contrarian, I'd say Trevion Henderson, who, we're not that far removed from people wanting to jam Trevion Henderson on main slates. And now, I was doing the show this morning, and I want to say that of the lineups that got sent to me, 1 maybe had Trevion Henderson and 3 or 4 had Ramondre Stevenson. So if I'm going to be going in the captain spot, give me what I presume will be a contrarian, Trevion Henderson, if I want to go really off the board.
Interesting. I like that call out. I would not have thought that was the route people were going. I thought it'd be closer to an even split. That was the other thing is even though Stevenson is cheaper on both sides, we're projecting them for about the same popularity, or at least we were a couple hours ago when I looked at that. I thought there'd be more of a disparity in their rostership.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't in our projection. I'm just kind of making an educated guess. I could be wrong. Won't be the first or last time.
What? No, there was that one time you thought you were wrong, but you weren't wrong. So technically you were wrong, but you weren't. Yeah, I remember that time.
Nah, trust me, I am constantly wrong.
All right, I am going to be above on Diggs because I'm a chalk donkey. But I like your Stevenson, Travion call out, bump them a little bit and get these lineups uploaded. And hopefully I win some contests here, Greg. That would be ideal.
That would be I'll accept that. If I can't win, then EMAC could win. If I can't win and EMAC can't win, then some people in chat can't win. If people in chat don't win, then just cancel the contest. What's the point?
Completely. And there is a hole in the bucket, dear Liza. Dear Liza, hole in the bucket, dear Liza today. All right, let me get these uploaded here. What is your surprise play, your shock play, the player that's going to ruin your night the most?
I'm going to answer this a little bit differently. I'm going to say contrarian option, who I like a little bit. Kyle Williams, only 5% owned.
Ooh,
no Matt Collins. He's been playing a bigger role since then. He's an extreme boomer bust player. Like, it's very feasible you just get a 0 out of Kyle Williams, but he's really explosive in the open field when he gets the ball in his hands. We've seen a couple of big plays for touchdowns from him this year. So 5% on Kyle Williams. That's going to be my contrarian pick for the night slate here.
All right. I like that. I like that a lot. Who is your favorite bet, if any?
Ooh, okay. So my favorite bet for tonight, I'm gonna try to get some in really quick on the prediction markets after we finish this up. But if I have to pick one bet for tonight, I'm going to side with the under for tonight's game.
Okay. A little bit chilly. The teams don't need excuses to run. I don't know that that's going to work out too well for the Chargers, but yeah. All right. I need to make a first touchdown wager here, Greg.
Have to.
I'm going with Hunter Henry.
Why do you have to, by the way?
Because I get a $50 bet back, courtesy.
Where's that at? Hard Rock?
Hard Rock.
Okay.
They don't have Hunter Henry as the first TD scorer.
Well, that's odd.
Vidal, Disley. Oh, and now they're pulling them because the game's going to start. So they're all falling down.
Oh, that's why they're pulling the lines.
I am going with Will Disley. $50.
Okay. All right. I am going to say he's not going to score first, but.
Well, Kyle Williams. Oh, let's do Kyle Williams instead.
Will Disley has. When was Will Disley's last touchdown?
All right. Well, I want Kyle Williams, so don't be telling. I should have gotten former Seahawk Will Disley.
Oh, so he is a more recent touchdown than I thought. He got a touchdown in a meaningless Week 18 game of last season. That was his last touchdown. I thought it was going to be further back than that. He didn't do anything at all this year. So yeah, cue up Will Disley scoring the first touchdown, making me look like an idiot now.
You know what would be awesome though? If Kyle Williams got it.
Yeah, that would be sick too.
That would be 50 into 1,050. It's plus 2,000. Nothing like lighting money on fire. You know why I can light money on fire? Because I've got the Stokastic tools behind me that help me out and make up for foolishness like you guys just got to witness here. So it's just $50. There we go. DK just gave an extra 15 minutes. What does that mean?
They probably moved the lock back, or may have
because of the game.
Yeah, because the first game running long and ruining our show.
They did. You are correct. Well, you guys got to hear everything that we talked about, though. So if there are any other questions, we'll give you 60 seconds to put them in the chat. But we're going to get on out of here because my guests are all with my wife doing a puzzle in the other room since they couldn't be at the kitchen table, which is right behind me. So I don't want to keep them in there forever. Did you know, and I know you don't, for those of you that do puzzles, you may notice Amy Stewart has the corner on the market. She is one of the best puzzle designers in the U.S. I went to high school with her. She is someone I see almost every time I go back to my tiny little
Emacs so old,
Kodak
you went to high school with the person who invented puzzles.
I did. No, oh my God. She is living in a 2,500 person town in the middle of the state of Washington and making gazillions in residuals on all the puzzles that she does. But if you guys check that out, there was a huge resurgence for puzzles during the pandemic, but she does some phenomenal work. She's a graphic artist who is very amazing. And then just happened to make puzzles, but she has some licensing deals there with Disney. So shout out to her. She sent us or gave me a few to bring home last time. She and her husband just went and watched the last what was it, Mission Impossible. They took my mom out to dinner, and then they all went and saw the last Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise there. So there you go. I'm late. A sneaky play in one.
Kyle Williams.
Kyle Williams.
Sound.
We ride. We ride. So. All right. We doing anything tomorrow? Maybe a little NFL, a little NBA.
Yep. Normal shows tomorrow. But yeah, other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Good luck with your lineups tonight. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Later.